support and encourage positive, passionate people making a difference in society.
So if I can come in, I think you were going down the road of attitude and mindset, and almost everyone that I am following around the world is turning around, and those two words, attitude and mindset, is what is the big play at the moment. So maybe just spin us through it, and we stop you when something comes to mind.
Okay, so the whole idea was to recognize that we're probably experiencing one of the greatest changes, that we could in our generation. That's for sure. And it's a process that we're going to need to undergo within ourselves, as much as what we're seeing in society. Wanted just to, Guy, you were asking yesterday, what is wisdoms? Who are we? And I just wanted to include that so that you've got an idea. This is where we get this emphasis that we keep having on a world of passionate people committed to making a positive difference in society. That's our vision. That's we constantly are working towards. And it's a street smart university of life that it's lifelong learning, something that we constantly wanting to give life-changing knowledge resources to people in terms of their personal success in life and in business. And it's about stimulating us to think. So that's why I sent those slides, so that we can, just get the brain cells or the little gray cells, whatever the case may be, just to get those juices going. And then these are the modules that we follow, going from attitude through to initiative, inspiration, leadership, entrepreneurship skills, right through to business mastery. So you can see it covers the range of personal to business success. And yeah, absolutely, we need to focus on attitude and mindset now, which is what Trevor is saying. So that's our focus. If we want to move up and look at other aspects, we can certainly do that. We're entirely in the hands of the group, and where your energy is and what it is that you're wanting to focus on. But we've started with one of the very, very first principles of attitude. In fact, I've just chosen a few slides just from the first principle, which is, sorry, I keep going fast. We are what we think. So, and the first slide on that is we become that which we think about most. So I love this slide. I love this picture of this person who is obviously relishing their environment. It's like she was born to be in the sea. And that everything about her athleticism and her focus it's almost like she is one in that environment. And it sort of epitomizes this whole thing of what we put our mind to, where we allow our mind to go, and what we focus on is what we become. So how does that connect with what the rest of you feel in terms of finding something that just is so integral to who you are, that you just feel like when you're doing that, you are truly fitting in your own skin?
So I'm going to make a comment in that I think a lot of what we think about is actually put into our minds as stimulus from the beginning, from outside sources. So a lot of what we watch and what we read and what we pick up, especially in times of crisis, starts entering into your mind. And what you've got to do is you've got to sift out which is the rubbish and which is the good stuff. And I'm reminded from this slide of Zig Ziglar, put the good stuff in and you get the good stuff out. And so many people today, especially at the point of crisis, because they haven't been building up the store of quality information that they can fall back on, then fall back on what could be called all this, what do they call it, fake news and false information and fear-mongering and all of that sort of thing. So I absolutely agree with this slide, and I can't remember this girl's name. She was a female world surfing champion. And I seem to remember something serious happened to her, and this was her after recovery. I'm sure it's the same girl. It's a lovely story. I'll go back and I'll try and find the information about this girl. But just her life, she just wanted to be a professional surfer, and that she did. She thought about it every minute of the day, and she went out and achieved it and became the number one in her particular field. And I think over this 21-day period, this is a time for us to really think deeply about who we are, who we want to be, what do we want to be after this 21-day period, and what sort of resources should we be accessing, and that's what we should share between each other. What sort of resources are people actually utilizing to take them to being the number one or being in the top 1%? So I think that's what this stimulates for me, Lee.
Hi guys, it's Ian here. Sorry, I actually got in a bit late, so I didn't hear Lee's comments about those slides. But I just wanted to make a little point, picking up on yesterday. Cecile made a comment when you asked her about her experiences at the chamber, and she said that she felt that it was still an environment of taking and not enough giving. So it's quite interesting that a platform like this, I think, has actually flipped the whole thing, because it's very difficult for you to try and make a quick buck out of somebody through this kind of situation. And I think already now people are reversing from taking to giving. So, I mean, you guys are obviously sharing the wisdom's information. I've said to people on that platform, I'm happy to give them an hour of my time to discuss various aspects of their business that they like for free. So, and I think there are a lot of other people now that are finding the opportunity to share information that can be useful to people in this 21-day period, that's actually going to hopefully change their outlook and their approach when they get out the other side. Because I think this is certainly, I think, a great opportunity for people inadvertently to sit back and reflect and start looking at, as you say, Trev, the resources and how they can do things better, whereas previously we've been busy, and we haven't really sat down and had the opportunity to reflect on the situation.
Thanks, Ian, and well, welcome on board this morning. Good to see you again, and thanks for those comments. Guy, I think you were wanting to say something there just before Ian came online. Do you want to unmute yourself and go for
it? Technology, good. I'm finding where all the icons are. I think that the bottom line is what Lee and the team are doing with their approach. It's obviously nothing new, but it's put in a different perspective and it's communicated in a different way. And I think that's what people on a face-to-face basis, whether you're across the table with a PowerPoint presentation or here on Zoom, is what people continually need to be seen and fed with. I just put 101 quotes of mine together in a booklet 4 years ago. And one of the quotes I've got here, the only obstacle to your success and achievement is your own thoughts and mental images, by Jay Murphy, who wrote Your Subconscious Mind, The Power of Your... So what's very good is just continually reinforcing this and how to find a platform to actually position it uniquely. So it actually gains traction vis-a-vis all the competition that's out there. So I like the slides, I like the input and the information, and so thank you for sharing.
Great, thanks Guy, appreciate that. Cecile, do you want to make any comments?
No. Yes, it's interesting what Lee was saying just now about what, I think it was Lee that said that, about what is your, let's say, your number one driver thing in your life. And maybe it's, yeah, in this 21 days, if one's not working per se, it is a time to actually see, well, maybe what I thought is driving me, I can do without, and there's other stuff that would drive me more. Whether it's stuff that you were doing or not had a chance to do, all the like flat out that you would like to do, or anything new. So it will be interesting to see in a day or two, a week's time, how the emphasis in what's important in your life changes. I read an article, my sister, I don't know if any of you know, but my twin sister is the military attaché to Sweden. She's a colonel in the army. She's just retired 3 weeks ago when we turned 60. And she got a note from someone that live in one of the countries that they've been in lockdown for, I don't know, long time, 7 weeks or something. And he says after 10 days, the novelty kind of wears off and the holiday's over, and then you start thinking of things in a different light. I will try and find that. He wrote an article. So I will try and find that and send it to all of you, or to the group. It is quite interesting to say that he says what your mind, also about mindset, what your mindset should be during lockdown time, to be more tolerant with the people around you, because the nerves start wearing thin when everyone's in each other's space for such a long time and there's no reprieve of what's going to happen. So that's my little bit.
Hans, if you'd like to switch on your mic and give us any thoughts from your side.
Yeah, if I look at the picture in front of us, then it looks like there's a storm approaching from the back and there's calm waters in front. And I think that's literally where we are at the moment. So this picture is very topical of where we are. And you know, the waters are only going to get calm if we remain with calm people, and if we ourselves try to remain calm and I think equip and educate ourselves to the best that we can. Technology is wonderful in that sense. Obviously, one must filter the junk and the fake news and all of that. You know, my sentiment is and has been that one gets more out of things the more you contribute and the more you give, and that's the attitude that I try to have, is to share as much as I can, even though I'm not a good talker, but add value where you can and learn as much as you can, because it's a continuous process of learning. And I think if the girl's story comes out, then I think that's probably what she's trying to teach us, that she went through tough times, turbulent times behind her on the photo, and she's looking at better times in front.
Thanks, Frans. I think some great insights there.
I was really struck by what Cecile said in terms of using this time to sift. That's the word that came to my mind, is that, you know, this is an opportunity for us to sift through what is important to us. We don't have the normal distractions or opportunities to go out and to be busy. And so this enforced, you know, staying in one place does give you time to think. And if we use that creatively, we use that opportunity not to build up irritation and frustration, which is normal and natural, I understand that, but to actually focus our thoughts and begin asking good questions. And I'm actually wondering if, as I say that, whether that's something that we look at going forward, is what is a good question and what is the value of good questions, because that is where our mind starts to sift what is really important.
Great, thanks, Lee. Yeah, I think that's 100% on the money. You know, let's get the right questions. Let's get the good questions, and they don't have to be complicated questions. You know, they're actually very simple questions. You know, what, why, when, and how are always a good place to start. And if you just look at everything that you're doing and frame it in something like that, I think you can come out with some really interesting answers when you have time to reflect as we do now. Guy, I think you wanted to make a comment just now.
I like what Lee says about the questioning. Fundamentally, I suppose in the sales field, it's gets back to your questioning techniques and what questions do you ask when you, with anyone, but with a client, to actually. Historically, I've asked certain questions that try and give me a quick insight into the personal thinking. I have certain types of questions that I ask, and then it helps me to identify when I'm sitting across the table with a person how they're thinking, and then I can channel the conversation or whatever to where it needs to be channeled. So yeah, I agree with you guys. It's all about questions. I think everyone's going to sit back here and redefine and relook at some of the subtle, simple things that one needs to implement going forward without being complicated. And there are simple processes and a couple of decent slides presented with good chat behind them becomes thought-provoking. So yeah.
Great, thanks, Guy. Trev, you want to pick up on that?
Yeah, I'm still trying to work out this technology as a host. I don't know how I'm able to actually pick up my hand, but just thinking about the slide and what it is.
Trev, just a quick note for both you and me, because we both hosts. Unfortunately, we don't have the ability to raise our hands like the participants do. So unfortunately, we've just got to be rude and butt in. So
I must do this when we do it. Okay, but just thinking about the question, you know, at 65 years of age, with all of this technology, I spend all of my time. I just love business, and the business of business for me is profit, which really rolls down to generating money. And as an entrepreneur, I'm looking at this, everything that we're doing, learning this new technology on Zoom for me. And as you know, for me to try and operate off this thing and Zoom technology, man, it's hard work for me. But I continually think about, okay, now how can we take what we're doing here that other people are not doing, and how can we help them to grow their businesses, and at the same time, by giving them value, make outstanding money out of it. And so those are thoughts that go through my head all the time. I don't know if anyone else actually spends that time. Am I just money hungry, or what is the story? Please, someone.
If I may come in there, and you're really good at it, and as we've spoken before, I think money is the byproduct of establishing the value. So, and as we've spoken off this forum, it's looking at the type of value and the profile of who we're speaking with generally, and getting back from them, what value are they getting, and it's the how. So it's someone raising a question saying, look, my sales have dropped 35%, or my customer's not doing this, or my marketing's a cock up. Trevor or Ivan or Lee, please can you give me input regarding some solutions? And then via this forum, it becomes a one-on-one with other people supporting the input. So yeah, it's to help those people grow. But the more we talk like this, I understand a lot of people will grow because they'll understand the business language that we're talking, and it will prompt them their thinking.
thanks. Unfortunately, we're breaking up a little bit towards the end of your talk there. I'm not too sure whether it's your bandwidth or something else. I see Ian has his hand up. So Ian, do you want to comment on that?
Speakers.
Yeah, thanks very much. It was just a point, we're talking about reflecting and that and what we're going to do and maybe we're going to think it. But for me, it's also been, even though it's only one day, I've spent the last couple of days and I've actually looked back and analyzed some of the decisions that I've made over the last couple of months and sort of worked through why did I make those decisions to do what I did. Was it because I was chasing the buck? Was it because it was my head ahead of my heart? So it's really quite interesting for me to be able to look at things and reflect and make decisions for the right reasons and not because we are now in a situation where everybody's perhaps financially under pressure and therefore will make the wrong decisions because we're going to chase this process. I've just been introduced to some very exciting and product that kind of is, I'll share it down the line, but it's really quite exciting because it kind of addresses the challenges we've got in terms of how one makes money and how one secures our investment as opposed to sort of sticking into our existing currencies of the rand and that which we know is going one way. So it's really interesting that through this process, what comes out of what otherwise I would not have been exposed to. So it's been for me, a reflection of decisions I've made, which helps me be careful about what decisions I make moving forward for the right reason.
Okay, is there anyone else who wants to add some comment onto that?
Well, I think, Ivan, do you mind if I just flip through to the last slide? And because I think maybe just have a little bit more of a conversation around that before we wrap up. Would that be all right?
Okay. Yeah, no problem. Go for it.
I just think I think this is, based on what everybody's saying. I was just thinking about the slides that were in this deck, and as a reflection on what the comments have been as people have been sharing on this this morning. I just thought this actually sums up a lot of what we're saying. Is that we've been given this opportunity, as Ian says, to reflect, to look at past decisions, to understand how does that impact the way we go forward. Cecile said the same thing, and we're just at the beginning of 21 days. But of course, it's an ongoing process. And then given what we are reflecting on, given what we're thinking, given any new insights that come as we continue to share on this platform and as we continue to share resources and ask questions and so on, the big question is, okay, you're doing that thinking, what difference is it making in your life? How are you applying it? How is it actually changing what you do? And the energy and the positivity and the focus that's coming as a result of that thinking. So I just wanted to end with that and maybe just stimulate some more of your thinking around, yes, it is about what we think, but how are we actually applying it?
Fantastically, thanks very much for that. I think then let's go through a quick round, just maybe a 30-second summary for everybody, and then I think we can wrap up. So let's start with Cecile, if you'd like.
Yeah. So let's go into this. Well, this is probably a normal weekend, a stay-at-home weekend. I think the reality will start hitting on Monday, when everything is still quiet and no one is going to work, and we've got to really look our daily routines, which will be interesting, because I think it's pretty easy to just say, okay, I don't want to do anything, and flop down on your couch with a book, or some people on the TV. I try and avoid the TV. I hate the TV, and see how the new normal can change your life, and hopefully the life of others, even if you're not in physical contact with them.
Great, thanks, Cecile. Frans, do you want to wrap up from your side?
Thanks, Ivan. The mind is working overtime at the moment. So yes, there's 21 days theoretically, but let's plan around that and keep our spirits up. Thank you.
Thanks, Frans. Great on that. Guy, do you want to just have a last word from your side there?
Lee and the team, thanks. These forums stimulate our thinking and my thinking, so thank you very much.
Great, thanks, Guy. Ian?
Yeah, just picking up what Lee was saying, I think for me, it's reflecting about what I've done over the last couple of months, as I say, and the decisions I made and why I made those decisions. And that helps me now in looking forward as to why I make the decisions, what I'm making the decisions for. And then the next thing is, right, what are the next 3 steps I need to do in order for that to happen? So it's sort of reversing, looking back at the past at why I made decisions and using that to reflect on making hopefully the right decisions for the right reasons going forward.
Great, thanks, Ian. Just a quick final from my side. Yeah, I think, for all of us, you've got 2 things you can do for the next 21 days. You can sit it out and hope things are going to turn the way they were before, or you can really take some time to reevaluate and see how you can be ahead of the pack. As I think it was Frans was talking about the lady on the wave, with the storm behind and the clear skies and seas in front of you. Everybody's looking at the storm and saying, well, I want to get back to the storm. I think if we can actually take the complete converse approach to that and say, we've got blue skies ahead of us, how do we really take advantage of those blue skies that are opening up while everybody is sitting waiting for things to go back the way we were? We actually make it the way we want it to be rather than the way it was. So that's just from my side. Okay, over to you, Trev.
So this particular slide that's on the screen for me says it all. We just can't spend the time thinking, we actually have to do. I discovered through a fantastic article that Lee wrote, I think yesterday, that I'm a polychronic. Is that right, Lee? Polychronic. I like things like the new abnormal. I love change. I love crisis like this because it allows us to actually take up new opportunities. And so I'm a fan of a Gary Vaynerchuk who turns around and says, hey, you know what? Throw 70 balls up in the air. Don't worry if you've dropped 28 to 30 of them, because you've then at least got 40 odd balls in the air, which is way better than having just one ball, you throw it up in the air and it never comes down. But there are different types of people around, and Lee caught that so well in the article that you put out. Lee, if I can just recommend, if you attach that article as a follow-up to this session, and thank you very much for what you did yesterday in sending out this little slide deck. I'd certainly think, though, that people would love to read that article and find out what they are, what type of individual they are. I must say, from my side, what am I wanting to achieve out of this every morning? And we're going to do it Saturdays and Sundays. There's no weekends here, Cecile. I hope you understand that. 21 straight days at 8 o'clock. Whoever's here, we're going to be talking. What do I want out of this thing? I want this thing to just open up a completely new avenue. And, when I talk of spending 100% of my time thinking, my top thought all the time is, how do we as a team, and I talk on behalf of our Wisdoms team, one of the thoughts that drives me all the time is how to generate $1 a month out of 1 million people, because there are just on 5 billion people at the other end of the cell phone. People want to connect like this. And I want to take a group of people of 5 to 7 like us here, and tomorrow have 14, and the next day spread that virus and have 49, and then from 49 to 150. That's do. We can't just be a group of 3 or 4 or 5 individuals that share the same thing, but we're not expanding. I look for expansion. So I hope those are some of the thoughts. Those are some of the things that I want to achieve out of this. And you guys must share what it is you want to achieve out of this. And let's see how we can back each other up, no matter how different the thought is about what we want to achieve, but how we can back each other up to achieve whatever it is you want out of these 21 days. That's my wrap up, Ivan.
Great, thanks, Trev. And I'd like to just leave everybody with those thoughts from Trevor and those questions. And hopefully we see you tomorrow morning with some thoughts around those thoughts, and then how we can translate those into actions and make things happen. So enjoy the rest of your day, folks, and thanks for joining us this morning. We'll see you soon.